My name is Alexis Corby, and I am the flute instructor at Your Lessons Now. Today I'm going to be talking about proper flute care and storage. Let's get started. We'll start with flute care. Let's put our flute together. Shazam! First things first, let's go ahead and grab the foot joint and the body. Now, as you see, when I grab them out, I like to hold the body by the barrel, which is this little guy over here. And the foot joint, I like to grab by its very end. And then I just take them and I twist them together. Again, just holding by the barrel and the end, not by the keys. And then I make sure that this rod right here is in the center in line with these keys. Now, if your pinky is a little bit long or a little bit short, you can adjust it back and forth. It won't affect the tuning. Now, we'll grab our head joint and do the same thing. Make sure you're holding by the barrel and gently twist your head joint in. Just like that. And now, I'll look down the flute. You want to look down this hole here and line it up. Line it up with your first finger, just like that. Once you've lined up your head joint, go ahead and play a few notes to see if it feels all right. If you need to, go ahead and adjust it a little bit more. If it feels off, sometimes it can be a little bit over or a little bit under. You don't want to over cover, you don't want to under cover. It'll feel good when it's just in the middle. All right, now we're ready to tune. Now that your flute is put together, it's time to get it in tune. So I would highly recommend buying a tuner from a music store or downloading a tuning app, either to your iPhone or other kind of smart device. I use Practice Plus. It is free, but it's the simple version of it is free. However, there are plenty of other tuning apps out there. I like to get started by tuning my flute to A. So I'm going to use my tuner here and just watch it to see what happens. Now you want to give a good mezzo forte when you're tuning, okay? You don't want to go too soft or too loud. Now, as you could see on that, it was quite sharp. It was hanging out around 40 cents too sharp. So I'm going to adjust by pulling my head joint out. Remember, the longer you make your flute, the lower it will be, okay? So we'll pull it out about 1/4 of an inch. You can see there where the color changes. Okay, make sure everything's in line again. And now let's try and see if that helped. And now we're in tune. There are a lot of things that can cause your tuning to fluctuate, including temperature, like whether it's too hot or too cold, airflow, which is if you're giving way too much air or too little air, and other things like rolling the flute too far in while you're playing or too far out. Once you're tuned up and you're feeling pretty good, you're ready to play. Now that you've finished your practicing, it's time to clean and properly store your flute. First things first, we grab our cleaning rod. Now you can see this one is made of metal, and that's very popular, very standard with student flutes. You'll also see them sometimes in wood or in plastic. One end has this little kind of needle eye end, and this end will have a little tiny slash on the end. I'll show you what that's for later. Then you want to grab your spit rag. This one I I use a silk cleaning cloth. I prefer silk because it absorbs faster and it dries out faster than some of the other materials. And you can find them at general music stores pretty much everywhere. They're very popular nowadays. So as you saw, I just put my cleaning cloth through that little needle eye, and I have it about halfway through. We'll start by taking the foot joint off of the body. So again, grabbing the body by the barrel and the foot joint by the end, we're going to gently twist off the foot joint. It should come off fairly easily. Put that back down. Now you're going to want to grab your cleaning rod, your cleaning cloth, and then just stick it through there. Okay. Now you want to go as many times as necessary to get rid of any excess condensation. You want to have this as dry as possible. And then we just set it right here, keys up, back in the flute case. And now we'll continue with the body and the head joint. Again, grabbing by the barrel, head joint, you can just grab right there, and gently twist. Take your rod. Now this time we want to stick it metal side down first. That way you have that weight to pull it through. Okay, and you'll want to probably do this a couple of times because I know after I'm done practicing, it's very spitty inside. Again, checking on the inside, making sure there's no condensation, okay? And then also make sure you rub this dry as well. The very end here, this little tenon here, you want to make sure that this does not have any saliva either, okay? Nice and clean. And then we put it back in its case, keys up again. And then lastly, our head joint. Now with the head joint, I like to move my spit rag up to the end here so that I have just like a little bit left. And then I kind of just twist it around so that it's got a little bit of extra fabric toward the top. And then I just insert it like that. And you don't want to push too hard because you don't want to put this cork out of adjustment. You just want to get it up there and then give it some twists. Pull it back out, see how wet it is. If you need to, move it to the other side of your spit rag where it's a little drier, and do that same thing, okay? You want to get everything as dry as possible for when it's hanging out in your case. And again, wipe off this tenon. There we go, head joint's ready, and back in its case. Once your flute is clean and dry, it's time to think about polishing the fingerprints off. I like to use a silk cloth. Sometimes you'll find silver polishing cloths out there, and that's something you do not want to use. You should use something that's natural and this has not been treated with any kind of silver polish or anything like that. The silver polish can actually get in and harm the pads and the mechanism. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to take my silk cloth and I'm just going to rub gently. Okay. You don't want to rub too hard. You just kind of want to buff out those fingerprints. Now on the keys, you want to be nice and gentle. You can press down like you're playing them, but you don't want to be too aggressive with it. Just like that. It's important to note that you do not use the same cloth that you use as a spit rag as your polishing cloth. You need to make sure you use two different cloths, okay? The spit rag may have excess moisture and you really don't want that getting all around your flute. You want to keep that as dry and away from everything as possible. This guy is always going to stay dry and you want to make sure that you only use the polishing cloth to polish your flute. Once everything is clean and polished, you can go ahead and close your case up. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found it to be informative, and I wish you all happy fluting.